Imagine being able to pick up your guitar and just play. Just take what's in here and let it out into the world. And just take that guitar and just jam away. How would that feel? That would be pretty awesome, right? But what if I told you could actually just dramatically improve your ability to do this and actually play what you're feeling and put it out into the world in just 15 minutes? In these next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you the 3-step process I use to take my playing and my students' playing to the next level when it comes to lead guitar playing. This really helped me. I've taught more than 15,000 guitar lessons and helped hundreds of students over the years, and this is like the easiest way I found to think about lead guitar so you can actually play and not have to like think so much, where you can just actually master a few skills and then just take those skills and just play what you feel. So this is this 3-step system. So the first step is super important, and this is like every pro guitar player does this, okay? This is like one of the most important things they do. If you listen to a really cool guitar solo, whether they think about it or not, they're doing this. They're following the right pitches, okay? They're landing on the right pitches. And how do you do that? It seems like magic when they do it, because they're just like playing these solos and you're like, oh my God, that note just made me feel like you hit that note and like my heart just sank, it was awesome. And, they do this, but like, how do they do it, And this is one of the questions I'm going to answer. The second thing that you need to really think about after pitch is what do they do? Like, if you just play the right notes, it's probably not going to be as powerful. Just like if you say the right words, it's probably not going to be as powerful unless you say them the right way, with like the right confidence. Imagine if I go over here and maybe you're a guy, right? And like you're a young guy and you try to ask this girl out, and you go out there and you're like, can I please have your number? And if you go like this, or like you act like a creeper, it's probably not going to work out, right? If you ask like in a more normal way, maybe you have more chances to get her number, even though you're probably going to get rejected, because it's part of being a guy. You got to be rejected a lot. But anyway, like the way you deliver things like makes it a lot better. So just like this, right? You want to deliver those notes the right way. And how do they do that? They do this with rhythm, okay? And now you can go like all analytical about it and just like think about like, oh, what are the rhythms in music, and quarter notes, eighth notes, and triplets and all that, which I'm a nerd and I do that. And you could go about it like this, or you can go about it a little more freely and just try to figure out what feels right. It really depends on your style of playing, because some people just want to do it like the analytical way, and some people just want to do it like the I feel it way, you know what I'm saying? So here you go. Now the last step that you really need to focus on is the soul, right? How do you add that soul? How do you add that emotion to your playing when you play, right? How do you add all of this? And this is really just a combination of just learning from your favorite guitar players and just like learning a little bit of what they do and just learning their songs and try to emulate what they do. And a little bit also comes from your own practice and your own like skill of actually executing, some things that they might do to make it sound more soulful. And part of it is also just like you actually getting lost in the music and you just getting it, like just you actually just getting to jam and just getting in the flow zone and just actually shredding. So that's one thing that is really important. Now, how do we achieve all this? So this is more of like the execution. Now, I've been rambling, but sometimes it's good to ramble. And then we get to some working, okay? So now we're going to go into the working section of things. So if you're still here after all this rambling, good job, because you really want it and you're really going to get it. So this is what we're going to do first. The first thing is we need to land on the right pitches. The right pitches compared to what, though? Right? Compared to the chords. So if the chords of a song are, let's say, G, G and D, right? G and D, there's certain notes that are going to sound really, really harmonious when you land on them. And those are usually what we call the root notes. Okay, so now I'm saying root notes, but don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. It's a music theory term, but don't get scared away. It's okay. It's going to be fine. It's just the root notes. And the root note is simply the note that gives the chord its name. It's simply the note that gives the chord its name. So that means that if this is G, well, guess what? What is the root note going to be if I'm just playing a G chord here? It's going to be G. If this is the D chord, what's the root note of D? It's D. Here we go. You kind of get it, right? Like if it's C, the root note is, you got it, C. Okay? So G, D, C. Now, if I play those notes, guess what? It's going to sound fairly okay, right? Like if I just go and play something, let's say, that would be C, G to the D, let's say, right? So we got, that's my chord, and then I go to the D. Now I'm playing a different D, right? Probably something different from what you're used to if you're playing open chords. But that's okay, these are bar chords. And the reason why I'm playing this is because these notes right here, these chords, have all the good notes in there. So if I land on any of these notes as a solo, it's going to imply that chord. So you see right here, if I land on this note, it's even within that chord. And then here I wanted to change the chord, right? Da, 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 da. I could land on this note, which is within this chord right here, and that makes it really nice. Okay, so here I'm just landing on the notes within the chord. Okay, these chords right here, if you know bar chords, are right here. And I'm just landing on a note within the chord. So we talked about the root earlier. In this case, we can land on the roots, right? So that would be G. So I could land on this note right here. And for the D, I could land on this note. Or this note, really. That probably would sound better. So you see? That sounds like the G. And then the D. And then I land back on this. And that implies that chord, that G chord that I had earlier. That basically implies it. And I'm just following the chords like this. So this is how you do the pitch. Okay, this is what you want to do. You want to just take these chords and just try to land on these pitches. And if you don't know where the chords are, then you need to work on maybe like your inversions a little bit, or like your triads and stuff like that. But that's the first step. The second step is that rhythm part of things, right? So how do we give a little different rhythm? So we can break it down, and I like to break it down in an analytical way, so then it just makes sense logically, and then you can always feel it later, right? But really, there's different groups of rhythms, right? You can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can double it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then you got the triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or triplet, however you want to count it. And remember, it's times 4. Right now, we're just going to keep it simple, okay? Just for right now, we're just going to keep it to the quarter notes and the eighth notes. And in simple terms, if you just really want to make it easy, right? Because this is really not rocket science. It just sounds like it, right? It's just, we're taking one note and then just doubling, right? So if one note lasts a certain amount of time, like this, 1, da, 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 what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna double that. So I'm gonna play a note twice as many times. So da da becomes da 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 da. Another way I can think about it, I can think about it as numbers and count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in between what I do, I go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and this is a really easy way to start getting the hang of this and just understanding, oh, this is a different rhythm. And as I play this, really, now I'm going to completely disregard like anything about pitch because we want to work on this like separately, right? So I'm going like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you try it, like just try it like this, kind of go with it. So ready, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, double, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that gives you an idea of like changing the rhythm. Now as you go and play the solo, you can decide on which notes are going to be longer and which notes are going to be shorter, or like, you know, really faster. So for example, I would go like this. Let's say I'm in the A minor pentatonic, because everybody loves this one. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You see how here I changed the rhythm, I went a little faster. Now obviously the pros, they do this like at a much higher level, right? They change in between lots of different rhythms. And not only just lots of different rhythms, but there's also another side of the rhythm that we didn't really talk about yet. And that's when you land on the note, right? Because I can count on the beat 1, 2, 3, 4. If I land on the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, compared to if I land maybe like on the end of the 1, 1 and 2. It's a little weirder, a little different. And it catches you a little off guard, right? So there's all these different spots you can land on. Without overcomplicating things, right now just practice this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And when you play, you see how I'm using this rhythm? I'm just varying between like the slower rhythm and doubling the rhythm, right? So there's more rhythm than this, but right now this is just to get the idea to sink in a little bit, okay? Now, at this point, there's one more trick up my sleeve I have for rhythm, which is really cool actually. And this allows you to kind of like shortcut the whole process of like just really thinking really hard about like the quarter notes, the eighth notes, and you know, doubling and all of that. You don't think about math at all. And then now it just becomes all feel. Okay, so this is really a cool tip. And it's just thinking about like your favorite songs, or maybe even your favorite solos or melodies, and really doesn't even matter what it is that you're picking, but you want to think of the rhythm of that. So for example, let's just take a really easy song for the sake of just making it easy. What we're going to do, we're going to go with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, because everybody knows this one. But if I wanted to, I could go like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are. So I could go like this: na ta 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 ta. So right here, and I changed it a little bit, you know, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, you know, but you see it's the ta 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 ta. I changed the very ending right there, but this is what was the inspiration. You know, kind of like that. So I'm just really taking this, or like think of like the Hotel California solo. It goes like, right? So I could go. So obviously it was not as epic as the actual solo of Hotel California. But you see, I kind of used that same rhythm to just kind of do something. That was not my best lead guitar line here, but whatever, you know. So you get the idea though. But you can just think about it this way. Or ta ba da 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 da, kind of like that, like for like the solo for the Led Zeppelin. So anyway, just think about some solos that you have in your head, and like just think about some rhythms, and you can go about it. You know, dun dun dun, ba da dun 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 dun, for Another One Bites the Dust. Oops. Okay, then you go off and you do your own thing, but you use this as the little inspiration to get you started, and then you can just improvise, right? Like then it's just a lot easier to improvise, and you can just take different rhythms. And for just practice, you can just take a specific rhythm and just really stick to it. If you're like newer to this and you're not really used to improvising, that really helps with the rhythm. So that really takes that rhythm to a whole new level. Now we're running at 18 minutes in here, but at this point, we're on to the last step, which is really just to add some soul to this, right? So how do you add some soul to guitar playing? Well, one way is to just add guitar techniques in there. So if you don't know guitar techniques, it's just, you know, tapping or bends or hammer-ons, pull-offs, double stops, you know, just all that kind of stuff. All these like different techniques that different people use. So that's one way. And really, for this, like the four most important techniques that I always say, like you need to have those four. The rest you can disregard for a while, but these four, like, you know, if you really want to sound good, this is the four that you need to have. So number one is slides. You see, you need these slides. And the cool thing about slides is it's kind of like the easier technique to start with, really, if you're a beginner and you're really trying to get into soloing, but you're not like that good yet. Like slides is a great technique to start with because you can really start like using them right away. The trick is to not press too hard or too soft, right? Because if you press too hard, you're gonna get stuck on the fret. If you press too soft, it's not gonna ring out, right? So you have to really find the right balance, which is like pressing really hard, then release until you feel a little buzzing, and then press just a little bit harder, and this is the perfect balance. Now, after you have your slides, the next thing that you really want to get is your bends. One thing about the bends, you really have to make sure that it's over here. It's all in the wrist, just like this. Right? Some people will do this. And you see, if I do it, it doesn't sound too bad, but when you first start, a lot of the times you don't even have the strength to do this with your fingers, and you have a lot less control if you do it this way. You can build control over time, but the main thing to do at first is really using this motion like this, with your anchor over here and just bending this way. This is the way I found that when my students get this, the bands actually click. You know, it takes a while for them to get it because they really have to practice, and I tell them practice the doorknob exercise, right? So just pretend like you have one of those round doorknobs and just like twist your hand like this, because this is really what you're doing, and your fingers here need to just stay there. If they don't push or they don't do anything, they just stay there and they stay strong, and they move as your wrist is moving up. So this is bends. The next technique that you really need to master is hammer-ons and pull-offs. You know, hammer-ons, it's two techniques technically, but they kind of fit together. You know, so those really add a little extra, you know, touch to your guitar playing. And the last technique that you really want to master as well is vibrato. This one is related to bending, but it's vibrato, right? So it's a little different. We can talk more about this later, but here you go. Those are like the main techniques that you can do to add some soul. The last thing that you really need to focus on at this point is this. how do I take these techniques and just really put my whole soul behind it? You know, like how do I just like forget about everything I learned and just actually play? Right? And sometimes it's just about sitting down and for an hour you just play to a backing track, you know, to a YouTube backing track or something like this, and just chill and just do your thing and just play along with a track. Try to land on the right chords by ear. Like you really have to just build that skill of just being able to get lost in the music and just like forget about the world and just like be in that flow state where it's just magic, you know? So that really has helped me along my years. And if you want to be able to just play guitar and really master it, you just watch this video right here, because this is one of the best videos I've ever made. So here you go. Go watch this one and it'll help your guitar playing, I'm pretty sure. So here you go. See you next time.